Hi everyone, welcome to Ben's Business Podcast, episode number 49. Today I've got guest Chris Jones from Zonlife Success, also the Amazon superstar. Is that right, Chris?
Maybe the some.
Yeah. So today what we're going to be talking about is Chris's journey doing Amazon FBA. We both kind of started on Amazon FBA together. We've kind of been following each other on social media for a long time. I think we had a call early days when we're both doing it, just to see how it was going. And then we've just not been in touch for a long time. So this is really like a friend catch up as well. So people can just listen into our conversation, catching up ourselves. And we just saved all the discussion for you guys. So do you want to introduce yourself, Chris?
Yeah, so first I'll just start by saying, like, appreciate your time, bro. I know it's been years since, I saw your name pop up on Instagram and this Ben guy's liking a lot of my posts. And I know when we first reached out in that kind of sense, it was then it moved on to Facebook, and then it was constant likes and comments and things like that. So appreciate your time, and thanks for having me on. But yeah, my name's Chris Jones. I just turned 27 years old. I live in a small town in Narberth in Pembrokeshire in Wales within the United Kingdom. Most people will know me as, that, like Ben said, that Amazon guy, whether it be a superstar or guru. It's not what I class myself as. I'm just Chris. I just work out in my kitchens most of the time. And I love my coffee. I love, all the good things of life. So, but yeah, like Ben said, I've been doing Amazon FBA, which is obviously fulfillment by Amazon, primarily selling physical products on Amazon's marketplace. Still a very untapped space to many that don't know about the actual selling part of Amazon, except for, I just buy products on Amazon. So I've been doing that since May 2015. I incorporated my first company, on to now 2018, doing more writing, doing more consulting. I said to Ben before we started this call, and it was more so, it seems that every year that goes on, that it seems like I pack 5 years of life into a single 12 months, because I'm pretty unorthodox in my actions and my thinking processes, which kind of goes right sometimes and also goes the wrong direction at other times. We've got a lot to talk about, and if anyone follows me or supports my content, you'll know that I keep it 120% real. So looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I like. When you first started, you decided basically to vlog everything that you were doing from the start, all the successes and failures, and I enjoyed watching that and just seeing you grow. And you were just sharing literally every day online. Mm-hmm. So how's that been? How does it affect you being so public when the things aren't going well? How does that all work when you're really committed to publicizing everything that you do within the business?
That is a great question, and it's probably only since mid 2018 where I've really started to see who I truly am as a person. Now, this might seem very spiritual and mindful and all of this stuff, but we as human beings live with a perception amongst the perception of ourselves. So if, Ben, you think I'm a confident Amazon FBA seller and you tell me that and you talk about that, I then become the confident Amazon FBA seller. There's a great quote by a philosopher and writer called Cooley, and he says that today, I'm not what I think I am. I'm not what you think I am. I am what you think that I think I am. And we live in this perception of ourselves. And for a long time, I was living off the perception of what others thought of me, and I was believing that perception. I know this is pretty deep. And when things weren't going as right as they were, and how they might have should have gone, I would accept that fact, and I wouldn't question myself or try to make it better. I would just move on as it was. And it's only from midpoint of 2018 where I've really realized that I need to be better in that area and display all factors of failures, mistakes, and all of those things. And that's really where things start to erupt in terms of business, and in your personal life. So if that answers the question in any way.
Yeah. So would you say that before, when you weren't sharing everything, you weren't feeling like you were being as open, you weren't being as authentic as you were when you started all these videos mid 2018 and just sharing the process with the world, really, through the good and bad? Yeah, that's my belief, is that it's good to share both sides. There's a lot of ideas that we should feel in silence and like behind the scenes, but that authenticity is just it really captures people's attention when you're so real like that online. And I think that's like some of your success in terms of your personal brand and people who follow you, not just for the FBA stuff, but just for like your journey. And the reason people follow me as well is because I don't just talk about the sunshine and rainbows. It's all like I talk about all parts of it and the mistakes I've made as well. And I see you do the same, and you literally video that part as well, which is very different. And that's what I find interesting about you. And one thing for everyone that's watching that's interested in what I see in Chris is really he's got unbelievable determination and focus to follow through on his goals. And that's what I've seen you do, Chris, is that you've actually just decided you're going to do that. You're going to start an FBA business. You're going to record and document basically the whole process. And you followed it through and you went and got everything that you want. So Chris is a great example of going after what you want and actually following it through right to the end, regardless of the ups and downs. And you're a good example to other people for that. So watch what Chris is doing, follow him, and he literally will share his life with you if you're willing to sit and watch it. And it's interesting and entertaining as well. Quite a funny guy.
And I think it's mostly because there's only a certain level of bullshit that people will understand and believe. So when you get into a realm of, let's say, manipulation to others, lies, and uncertain beliefs within your own words, people aren't stupid. They know where you're coming from, if you're telling the truth or not. And if you spiral out of control and not tell everybody the full story, there's going to be dents within that story that people pick up on. So if you can be transparent all the way through every little thing you do, both success, failures, hardships, tough times, difficulties, challenges, people will see that. They'll be able to relate to that. It's like drinking a glass of water as you are now. I've drunk water, therefore I know the feeling you're experiencing when drinking that water. But if you try and mask the fact of some things you're doing, it will catch up with you. And it's throughout the process over the last few years where there has been certain times where I've not been myself on social media, and because that perception of what I wanted to be from other people, from what I saw, I started to become that person that I wasn't. And that really hit home. And, one day where it was at the peak that I had everything in my fucking life. I had the BMW, I had the other car. I'd already achieved two pretty nice cars in my life that I'd always wanted. I had got the apartment, I've got the money in the bank, I've got all of this freedom to go out and eat in the day and all of this stuff. But it was being fueled by people liking my stuff on Instagram, comments on YouTube, shares on Facebook that pushed my ego further into that direction for me to want to do more of those things. And it was only really when I took a step back and I had a good fucking look at myself, where I can remember one day I literally sat on my bed and I cried. I just cried because I built up this persona of someone that I wasn't. And in that moment, it was a struggle of how I was going to get back to myself. And that's what I've really been working on for the last 6 months. And it's probably been the most impactful transition that I've made in my entire life.
Well, yeah, I've been following some of the things that you've been sharing recently, and it's very different from, like you say, the content that you were sharing in the past, which was like you're saying, we had a wee discussion before we jumped on live, materialistic things, and we can get very attached to that idea of what success is, and it can be a very fake way of looking at it as well. And if, like, I have a saying that, like, if you keep sweeping things under the carpet eventually gets lumpy, and it comes through eventually. So, like, if we're hiding anything, we've got a mask on or anything, it eventually you have to get rid of it one way or another. So authenticity is the way. If you're going to be doing this sort of personal branding thing and sharing your success online, you have to also be real with people and tell people the facts and the truth. Obviously you can be private as well, but if you really want to do this personal branding thing, what we're doing, while running in a way to gain followers, to sell whatever products and whatever books we're writing, whatever it is we're doing, whatever the strategy is, it's just about being real with the people who are following you, and being real with yourself as well, and not getting caught up in this idealistic success.
Yeah, it's taking, and one of the big things that I've learned this year is taking ownership for your mistakes. If you've messed something up and you know it's your fault, accept that it's your fault and take full and complete ownership of that fault. Therefore, I've shared some tax issues in the last 3 months that I've been through. If I wasn't to share that, the last 4 years of what I've been documenting is been a false existence, because I've shared everything up until this point, but then I share one struggle that I go through recently because it's been the most difficult, isn't what you want to do. And if I wasn't to share that, and believe me, there was a point where I didn't, it would mean that me, Chris Jones, who I am, or what everyone knows me for who I am as a person, that would mean that I've been living under multiple identities. And it means that, and this is the case for many people out there, we have identities to certain friends, to Facebook friends, to Instagram followers, to our family, to ourselves. And that means if you're not yourself from day one, as we spoke about before, you're being someone completely that you're not. And that really creates a false existence. So by sharing everything that you do, your passions, your everything that you like to do in life, your difficulties, your hardships, that's going to be the easiest path of life to gain the maximum fulfillment and happiness in your existence. And I think that's the way that more people outlook.
Yeah, and I think for the people who are watching today, welcome Gary, Scott Lambie, Grant, Daniel, Massabashir, I can't pronounce that name, Dylan. Welcome for everyone that's joined us, and I guess the people who are listening and watching this are probably quite surprised by what we're talking about. They might have expected like your tips and tactics on growing their business, but this stuff's interesting to hear, the real stuff, rather than just more information. Let's hear the actual entrepreneurial journey that myself and you have been on, and the real deal, what we're putting ourselves into, and what we have to, what would you call them, challenges, adversities that we're going to have to overcome as we go along. And to learn from people who have been through it like you is so valuable, especially like you're still here, you're still running your Amazon business. I was watching one of your recent videos. You've got 7 different accounts at the moment on Amazon, but you've also realized something very powerful about yourself and your real personal side of your life, and you've been exploring that and doing the writing and things. So I'd be interested to hear. Let's go into what people probably came here for as well. So like, someone asked me a question just before this, actually, between the hour of when I said that we're going live, and someone was asking, is FBA still worthwhile? So from the time when it was a buzz when me and you got into it, what's your thoughts on that? Is FBA still worthwhile?
Okay, so first of all, I'd just like to say that, before we move on with anything, and please remember this for someone who maybe feels trapped in what they're doing within the passion that they might see fading. Just because you're good at something It does not mean that you have to do that thing forever. Okay, so maybe you've built this empire, this business that you feel so attached to that it's your baby, it's your closest of family, it's your loved one. It doesn't mean that you have to stick with that forever. There can and probably will be a time where you will part ways, and that's not unhealthy. That's healthy and more needed than ever at most times. So whilst I'm still with Amazon FBA, there's a different outlook that I have on that journey now because more things have started to arise in my life, bigger opportunities, more potential in terms of other industries that I can move forward with. But it's the Amazon FBA thing. So, and one of the things is, Ben, I believe that I've exhausted the content of Amazon FBA. I mean, I've been speaking about this for 4 years. I've been talking about this every single day, sometimes 5 times a day, videos daily. You name it, I'm doing it. So there's a certain point of asking myself, what else is there to talk about with FBA when I can do it? But yeah, Amazon FBA, I mean, it is far from dead. In my opinion, it's only just getting started in terms of moving into a massive, massive potential. The one thing that people always ask me is how to build a brand. Like, and let's look at something like what actually is a brand. So a brand is something that you have a tribe of followers from, whether that's a product yourself, a service, a duty of who you are as a person to serve others. It's people connecting with your vision, your identity, what you're about. Now, building a brand as Ben is, and I am personal-wise, that comes with books, might come with courses, it might come with a physical product. So a brand is, like I said, it's pulling people towards one specific element within an industry that people back and believe in. And all that we're doing, if I'm completely honest, is we look at a problem within the industry and most of the time within a sub-niche category when it comes to Amazon, whether it be coffee cups, whether it be pet products, whether it be sports supplements, and what I'm mostly into and sell on the US, we look at just little pain points, little tiny pain points of how we can provide a solution to that very minutiae problem. And that's all we're doing. So if you can out-develop, out-create, out-innovate the next person who might be coming into the market or the big dog in that category within the industry, Amazon FBA isn't dead. Products are not dead. People always will want stuff. So to ask yourself the question of that, save the time and energy of asking yourself the question and instead ask yourself the question, what can I do differently? And with that answer, in short, is it's not dead.
Yeah, so it's not just like my take on that as well is for answering the question. I think it was Richard asked the question, and my take on that is the same. Is look at Jeff Bezos, look at Amazon, look how it's continuing to grow and expand. There's a massive market, and we can all get a piece of the pie if we get involved in it. Private labeling's always been around. It's a business model that's been around for a long time. It's just taken a different sort of technology we're using. So it's not really a fad. The fad is that you can get rich quick. When you're going into this, just realize that you're really setting up a brand, as Chris has mentioned. You're setting up a real business. You're going to have real business challenges. You might even need to employ people. You might have to outsource and delegate tasks that you can't do. And there's going to be tasks you can't do. And then you have to become a real manager and get good at these business skills that people forget about. I've seen so many people get involved in this business and just like they've not got any business experience and they screw it all up. And then they blame it on the business model of Amazon FBA and selling on Amazon, but it's always been around. It was on eBay before, and it was just in a different form before there was the technology. So really, it's just about realizing the opportunity is there. It's not going away. It's getting bigger actually, and you need to develop skills and realize there's going to be a lot of things to learn when you get involved in this. And that's really my take on that. Is Amazon FBA still worthwhile? It definitely is. I can see it only getting better. It's slightly more challenging just to pick a passion and hobby list, as I've talked about before, and just jump into any category. You've got to really niche down, find a very small category within a category, and pick a very niche product, and then go into it more in more depth, and develop a brand that people fall in love with the brand, not just the product that you could buy from any other similar company. We'll call them companies, but not brands. If you create a brand like Apple, or like what Chris is creating, and like what I'm creating, it's something they buy from you in an emotional sense rather than features and benefits. So yeah, I just wanted to add my take onto that as well, because he was asking me the question, but I saved it for today.
And it's more so that, I like to start out with the foundations of, what is that why, that classic why in the personal development industry. Why do you wake up in the morning? Why do you work out? Why do you get to sleep before 9 p.m.? Why is that reason? I believe that as human beings, especially as social media grows, that whole industry is wired with so many different connections, thoughts, opinions. And we need to ask ourselves, just before we hear the line or read the sentence or hear the voice on the podcast who says, I've just earned $25,000 via Amazon FBA. First of all, you need to understand that $25,000 is revenue. They could still be losing money at that monthly turnover. And believe me, we've done over $50,000 in a single month and we've still lost money. Okay, so I'll just put that out there for those people who are reading the blog, $75,000 a month, whatever it is. Guys, you can do $1 million a day and you can still lose money. So don't fall so like at ease to these processes that you hear. This is business building 101. You need to start from the foundations, but more so, first of all, you need to be exposed to the world of what you might be going into. If you want to become an Amazon FBA seller, go and hang around with Amazon FBA sellers. If you want to be a writer, go and hang about with Ben, go and hang about with someone else. If you want to be a public speaker, then guess what? Go and watch 10 public speaking events in the next 12 months. Start to interact within the industry that you foresee yourself in the future. I think there's a lot of mistakes where people say, I want to earn 10 grand a month. Amazon FBA is the be and end all of my problems, when really you don't even know the processes of what it takes from step 1 to step 2. Heck, you don't even know the processes from ground 0 to level 1. So put yourself in that exposure element, and you can see the daily routines, the weekly structures of what it actually takes to be an Amazon seller. There's a lot that people talk about in the positive lights of this industry, but there's a glow that people don't talk about in terms of the negatives. And that's what people need to see. You might do 10 grand a month in profit, but what are you doing from 6 a.m. till 11 p.m. in your day and evening in order to achieve that? What sacrifice are you being towards your family, your friends, your social life? It's these things that you need to look at, because you are still living your 24 hours as an individual, as a person, as a human being with emotions. And it can drag and drown you out if you don't know the processes that go into these things.
This is some real shit. It's not what you get in these promotional videos that we make the life of the entrepreneur and the selling the dream. What Chris has just said there is he's taking the words right out of my mouth as well. It's exactly what I say about the real side of it. And this is not to, obviously this stuff can sound like you're just a new excited naive business owner, like we both were at one point. We both got into this business and our businesses the same way, and it's important to be like that. I think naivety is a great thing, because you're not then looking at all the fears and things that can go wrong, and you can learn from mistakes as well. Like as us two, we're still here, we're still running our businesses, we're still doing well, and we're going to keep pushing forward with the vision that we have in our mind. But it's very important you have a vision and you're following your true passion, as I've heard Chris talk about. It's if you're going for something just for the money, like Amazon FBA is a brilliant financial opportunity for everyone that's listening and watching. But if you're just going for it for the money and there's no passion there, the thing is with choosing a hobby and a passion and a product to sell within that, you have to be passionate about that product. And that's something you can do within this industry. But if you end up picking something that you're not passionate about, then that's where when the adversity kicks in, that's when you'll fail. Like Steve Jobs, probably a lot of people here that are entrepreneurs have seen this famous video where Steve Jobs says you've got to love what you do, because it's this stuff is hard, and if you don't love it, like really love it, and want to sacrifice for it, you're going to fail, because it's that simple, because it is really hard. And beyond that, there is fun in the entrepreneurship when you get your wins. But we're nailing down this stuff about the adversity, but that's so important to understand as well. But in the end, if we keep focusing on our vision, what comes from that, our passion, our genius, and we focus on that, and obviously have a financial goals attached to that, where we're going to get money from this passion. That's so important. You have to be able to sell things, obviously, every day and consistently, but that vision has to come first.
If people are struggling, and this is like, you probably get this question a lot, and other people too within the industries, and it's, what can I do? Like, I'm not getting on in my 9-to-5 job, but I have to pay the bills. I have to pay the mortgage. I have to put food on my wife, my husband, and my kids' plate. Like, what can I do? But I'm not happy in this state that I'm waking up, I'm dragging my ass to work, I'm coming home, I'm miserable, I'm fucking unhappy. And this is most of the commonality that is happening. And what I can say is, whatever your hobby, whatever your passion, slowly but surely turn that into something real. And a good example of this, of turning a passion into a product, is spotting a solution that you're personally having an issue with when going about your passion. And for a prime example, a real-time example, I'm currently training for like an Ironman next year, right? So there's a lot of running, there's a lot of cycling, there's a lot of swimming. Now, I was on the bike this AM, and I was cycling, and like my joints were hurting, probably because of the massive run I'd just done as well. But my joints were hurting on my knees and things like that. I'm going to be cycling a lot over the next 8 to 10 months. And I was thinking, like, right, I'm taking glucosamine, I'm taking some joint supplements, but why are my joints still hurting? My diet's good, my recovery's good, everything's good. So, and I'm taking this supplement, and that's supposed to be the solution to what the problem I'm experiencing. So if you're a cyclist, look towards creating a brand around a problem like that, and then putting your own spin on it. Have personality, have character, put a nice twist towards a unique kind of sense of branding, the visuals, the colors, the emotional elements, the psychological things. This is what you want to focus on. You could call it whatever you want, because I guarantee there is other people out there using joint supplements who are cyclists but experiencing the same thing. So you are simply then turning a passion into a business. But don't go about it like you want to achieve it yesterday. Don't go about it like you want to achieve it next month. Look towards, mid to 2019, after all the planning, all the preparation, all the vision that you put in place to make this happen. You've got time. You've got time. So.
Yeah, it's good advice. And it's like the problem's already been solved by someone else.
Exactly.
But we just have to add our own personality and into the brand to sell it through ourselves, rather than them going to someone else. We won't say a competitor, because if you're competing, that's usually when you lose. You have to just be creators, like myself and Chris. We realize that part is that if you're creating from your passion and your vision, then the competition becomes irrelevant, because you're so different, because you're just yourself.
Exactly.
There's no one like you. So that's what a brand is.
Enjoy the journey. And for anybody that watches Impact Theory with Tom Bilyeu, he's the founder and CEO of Quest Nutrition. So Quest Bar, the protein bar, the high fiber Quest Bar Nutrition. And what he says within his story, it was the first time where he let loose and he enjoyed the everyday practices that fell into building that business. But he did not start that business as a venture to gain financials. He started that as a passion project. And now that's been evaluated over a $1 billion business. And that's the one thing he said. He enjoyed building it. He wasn't pressured like it was a chore. He enjoyed building that up. So if you enjoy cycling, but you've got bad knees, turn that into something great.
Yeah, that's really good advice. It's advice I've heard repeated in like books like Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, Earl Nightingale. It's just a commonality of success is that they gave up chasing the money and they focused on what they really gave them enjoyment, what they went and did in their own spare time, like where you end up naturally flowing to. Like I've naturally flowed to books and reading books and talking to authors and speaking to my book club. That's just naturally where my time goes. So I'm putting more into that now. I'm giving more to that because that's where I'm going. It's like not a plan. It's just I'm following that passion. So like there's good and bad advice about follow the money, follow the passion. You have to mix it up with both. You have to have sales skills, but you have to follow your passion, or it's not going to be worth the journey. It's not going to be fulfilling if you have money. And Chris can probably tell you from experience, he's been a very successful person and made a lot of money through his Amazon FBA business. But you were talking about in your videos a lack of fulfillment.
Yeah.
In that time with lots of financial success.
Yeah, so it was a strange time because when I was a personal trainer, I was working, in some very respected and well-established gyms around the UK, in Wales and in England. And throughout that time, I was trying my best not to just wake up and go to work. And there was a certain part within that industry that I was working as a personal trainer where I started to see this car, started to see this BMW i8, and I started to see this Audi that I really, really wanted. And I kept that in my mind. I almost ingrained it. Everywhere I went, I would see this i8. And it was the supercar. It was what I wanted. It was the car of my dreams. And I almost brung that into my life with law of attraction. What you want and you work towards it, you can bring into your life. And over the last few years, there wasn't a day that went past that I didn't think about this car. I had it all over my bedroom. I had it in my car. I had sometimes kept a photo of it in my wallet. And it was bringing this attraction basis of the product in sense of what I wanted in my life everywhere I went. And anyway, I worked my ass off, and in last year, early 2017, when I was going to get groceries actually from my local superstore. I was driving along and I looked right, and there was the BMW dealership. And out on the forecourt, on the shiny bright green grass, there was the BMW i8, the exact one that I wanted. It was white. It was the one. And I can remember it so vividly. I pulled a smile on my face and I turned right. I indicated right, and I went into that showroom. And at the time, I was wearing my flamingo swim shorts, right? So I dressed pretty casual, pretty chill. So I was wearing my blue and pink flamingo swim shorts, my flip flops, and a vest. And I drove in to BMW, and the salesman said, "How can I help you?" And I said, "I'd like to buy the BMW i8." And they kind of looked at me up and down. They said, "Do you mean that actual i8 outside?" And it was almost like he meant, "Do you mean the one in, the little toy one that we've got in the glass cabinet?" And I was like, "No, I mean the actual BMW." And I said, "Can I have a look at it?" I didn't need to look at it. I didn't need to test drive it. It was mine. 10 minutes later, I was sat down, signed on the dotted line an hour later, and there it was. Probably not that I like to regret much, but where I am now, I would have wished that I didn't get that car. But then another part of that process was, if I hadn't have got that car and experienced it, I might have got a Lamborghini this year, and I might have put myself in even further negative position towards that thought. So
anyway,
so what we were talking about was, drove the car. It was awesome for 6 months, and then guess what? Novelty does not last forever. It fades, and it fades fucking fast. And then you're stuck with this £100,000 car that's sitting on your drive, and you're hardly driving it because you've got a new perspective on life. And that is probably the worst feeling that I've ever had in my entire life.
Right.
So wow. Yeah. So even though money can be strong, everything can look as as right as rain. There's certain aspects where life will chuck you these false gifts, right? They'll chuck you a gift, and you'll capture the gifts, you put them in your pocket. And one of those gifts was the BMW. I got it, I put it in my pocket, but then you have to live with those gifts until you do something about it. So, and you never know what difficulties can arise around the corner, what hardships you're going through, what difficulties come up. And if it's financial after you've just bought £100,000 car, then situations can become pretty bad and fast. So so that's my little story.
Wow, yeah. So that there was a lot of tension when you took that on 6 months later after the enjoyment of it, and then there was financial kind of tension on top of that. With things change, that's the thing about business. Like industries change, businesses change, customers change, and suppliers change, and that's that's the beauty of business, is that you have to be ready to evolve. You have to watch overheads. You have to be very careful with overheads. That's one of the key lessons my dad's passed down to me, is overheads can basically ruin the dream, ruin the business, or just kind of send you backwards. But yeah, like it's different when you're going for something, you can afford that car, and you take it as a gift, and there's no blaming on you on that. So like I don't see things as regrets, like you're saying. I think regrets useless. There's no point in regretting, and when you think about it, it's in the past. We're here in the present. We've got a vision in the future, but really all that matters is like right now. You're running your 7 accounts on Amazon. I'm here running my business successfully as well, and I have lots of mistakes in the background, but they're also lessons. And I used to see them as regrets. I used to use the word regrets, but I stopped using that word, because I do think that regret's useless these days.
I like it, and it's almost for people who are struggling. And this is like the struggle of fear. For those people who are looking to get in business, who might be watching this, or they might follow you or support me, whatever it is, but they're stuck in this fear, this realm of like questions, like how's it going to go? What's it going to look like if it goes well? The fear of if it does go downhill and it fails. And the best thing that you just said, and I took out of that, was we're creatures of the present. We're not fucking people of the past. So who we were a year ago, or even last week, is not who we are now. So those things that you fear, almost like regret, there's no point in them. We're in the present right now. And there's a great quote, I believe, don't quote me on the name, but I'm sure it's Emerson. And he said, "Do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain." And that's a great quote that sticks by me every time I'm scared or anxious and doing something, whether that's to ask a girl for a number, whether it's to whatever it is, to sit in a coffee shop with most people around you. Do that thing, because after you do it, a smile will become upon your face, and like Emerson said, the death of that fear becomes certain. So
yeah.
Anybody
and even if like that action you take that you think is going to work, and you get rejection from it, it's the rejection's a bigger killer. The fear of rejection is a bigger killer than the actual rejection as well. If it doesn't work out on a negative point of looking at it as well, because sometimes you ask and you don't get, but when you ask enough times, you end up getting. So it's about asking more, but being able to take that hit of rejection as well, because you're going to get that. You're going to get failure, and you're going to get like knocked back. So thanks for everyone else that's joined: Christopher, Tam, Gavin, and Amir. If you have any questions before we go, ask Chris any questions about his journey and entrepreneurship in general. As you see, we've not talked a lot about Amazon FBA, but this is the kind of discussions I enjoy. I really I enjoy interacting with human, and especially people who are on the same journey as myself. And I, as people probably realize, I'm not just interested in business, and neither are you, Chris. I can tell that. We're not just like business machines here. We're all people, And regardless of it, like, we're dealing with people, and Amazon FBA, it makes it very unhuman in a lot of ways. Like you've talked about, it's very entrepreneurship is very lonely, but I've found that FBA is even more lonely because you're not even getting people coming through the shop door. It's all online. So I think interaction with people, and that's why I created that Ben's Business Book Club community around me. So on that, actually, you've got a book out. What's your book about?
Yeah, so my book is called Resilience. Again, that comes down to the fear and the factor of, I never thought that I'd be able to write a book, intellectually, actually be able to put my hand on the pen for the pen to go onto the paper to actually write the book. Yeah. And it was actually I took a week off social media about 4 months ago, like instantly. Okay. I just said I'm done. There was one night that because I go through and I talk about these mental battles, and I like to say it's the devil versus the angel. And what I'm talking about is the mental game. There's some mornings I wake up and, I don't think that I'm worthy of what I'm doing, the people that I've got in my life. And it's one of those things that I'm always kind of counteracting of, Chris, you can do this. Or the devil is saying, Chris, just stay in bed, you're worthless. So it's getting your mind really in a strong state before you do anything is critical. So, and I'm really open about all of the mental health factors as well that go along with entrepreneurship. And it's more so, I took this week off social media because it was getting to me so much that I just felt so overwhelmed and constant flows of anxieties funneling through my body that I just took it off. And all that I looked at for the next 7 to 10 days was my pen and my notebook. And all that I did was I started writing, like I documented even deeper and further my journey, my struggles, my everything, just to get this like overbearing weight off my shoulders and this devil knocked out of my head. And I started writing my book called Resilience, and it's called Your Past Doesn't Dictate Your Future. And so that's I mean, I'm not a pushy salesman either. I've done that more so for myself, selfishly, accomplished. But yeah, that's how I got into it. What niche by Dylan? So I'm seeing a question. What niche am I in? So I'm in several niches. 70% of my products are taken up in the sports supplements category. I'm also in home and kitchen. I do some beauty and fragrance kind of stuff with a business in France, in Paris, that I've got. I've been doing Amazon since May the first sale day was August the 16th, 4 days after my birthday, in the year 2015. Profitable. It was pretty profitable from day one, just because I set up so many success processes prior to doing that. If you don't know my story, I pretty much sat in my granddad's spare room for like 7 months researching and taking action on this business model. So I was pretty confident from day one that everything was going to work out. There was one product that I released first. It was a fat burner called L-carnitine. You can research that. And the product went live, and after 2 hours went to bestseller on Amazon UK, and it sold nothing less than 10 units for the next 12 months. And it was good. It was good. And it was all an entryway into the bigger picture to, where I'm going now is I want to be of duty and service to other people. I don't gain fulfillment by gaining financial stuff in my life. I can only use that freedom that I gain for myself to help others to serve a purpose. So, that's where I am at the moment. So you can be profitable from day one if you do everything right.
Yeah, that was my experience as well. That it took me maybe, after kind of putting the products up there, all you have to do is stick on sponsored ads straight on Amazon, and if your product's displayed well, it makes sales instantly, because the traffic's insane on Amazon. There's just so much traffic there. It's like the cost of sponsored ads is when we started, it was fairly cheap as well. It's obviously increasing in price, and there's more competition. But sponsored ads, if you can leverage your kind of pricing model and increase your pricing and use sponsored ads, the traffic's there. It's just about being able to create a profit after. So really cutting your supply costs down as much as possible, and then your sponsored advertising, you can use that to get the traffic. So you have to get all these the backlog thing, the foundation set up right so that your product's profitable after advertising, as well as all the getting it shipped into Amazon if you're getting it from China.
And
so that's that.
Focus more than anything on your product listing. I mean, like, make your images exceptional. Make your images exceptional. Take time, and I mean days, if not weeks, on your sales copy. Everything to a T. Make it nothing short of spectacular. Make your Amazon listing similar to how you would want your one-page website. If you do that right, and traction of what I like to call it findability factor. So there's two factors on Amazon, which is of main importance. Number one is findability. That's being found on Amazon. So if you can be found, someone lands on your page, happy days. Number one, ticked off. Number two is convertibility. When someone lands on your page, what do they see? What are they reading? The images they see, the text of the sales copy they read. And then they also view things like promotions and your prices, your reviews. So all of those have to play very, very precisely in with one another. This is more of a psychological game than it is anything else. And all that you're doing is putting the product in the gap between what someone wants and what someone has. And that's what you need to focus on.
Yeah, and Dylan that's asking these questions, very good at the psychological part. He understands the brain very much. He's taught me a lot about that. So like Chris is saying, search engine optimization, getting people searching and finding you. As my dad says, get the click. It's about getting the click on Google, on Facebook, on Amazon especially. You're competing against other people on that listing. So if your product listing stands out from that thumbnail, from the headline, what your brand product name is, and also keywords, search terms that people are searching, high search terms, getting that click initially, then Dylan, yourself and a good copywriter can then write the persuasive copy to convert that click into someone buying the product. Yeah.
Yep. And then if
Dylan's asked another question, if you can see that.
Yeah, and if you can make one sale, you can make 100 sales. You can make 100 sales, you can make 1,000 sales, and it's just replicating that with new products. So we mainly, if I'm honest, use Amazon sponsored ads. What we do with Facebook, and this isn't so much with Instagram, but more so with Facebook, we like to focus on really one main platform and build from that main and then add the others, such as Pinterest or Instagram or whatever it is. So we build up a Facebook page and we try to get our likes up to 5 or 6 or 7,000 before we launch a brand. So we might spend £1,500, $2,000 on building up that brand's Facebook page, not profile, not group, Facebook page. And therefore we can start to drive just very natural traffic from Facebook to our actual Amazon store or specific listing. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say we pay a massive amount of attention to that because Amazon's sponsored ads are so powerful. And if you do it right, they can become relatively inexpensive. So focus on both factors, but don't go, and this is what I don't believe with Gary Vee. I don't believe that you should focus on all social media platforms right away because that becomes very overwhelming. If you've got a team, then go for it. Gary Vee obviously has a media team in his company, but for a single solopreneur, then start on one and then scale up.
Yeah, get good at content creation and creating ads on one platform, master that, then like you're saying, scale it. Once you create that skill of constantly creating content and adverts, then you have to go and learn a whole new platform like LinkedIn, somewhere I want to move into because I know there's a great opportunity business to business wise, and there's so much there's more noise happening on it, but right now we've got a good opportunity. Even now, it was 6 months ago I should have done it, but there's a good gap on LinkedIn, for example, right now, where I think Marcus Murphy, who's partners with Ryan Dice, said that it's almost like it being in a stadium and you've got the whole stadium to yourself and you're standing on the field. And when you say a word, that whole stadium can hear you. And that's the kind of like example where it's opposite. There's a lot of players on the field and Facebook talking to that crowd. So like we've got a good opportunity on LinkedIn right now for kind of business to business products anyway. And it's a good platform to move into. But what Dylan said there, do you strictly use Amazon sponsored ads or also Facebook and Instagram platforms? for me, I did use Facebook ads as well. And I was going to ask you, Chris, a question. Do you sell, like, I have this idea of there's Amazon where you can sell your products. There's eBay. There's an e-commerce website. Because Amazon in the bigger scale is a third party in a way. When we're selling on Amazon, we're giving our confidence just to Amazon. They can close our accounts and things like that. And just like Facebook can close their accounts, Facebook's a third party, Amazon's a third party, and Google's a third party. And if we rely on just one of these places that can shut us down, like if we're relying on one that shuts us down, that's it. But if we've got three, one can shut us down. We've still got these two to rely on to keep selling our products. What's your thoughts on that, Chris? That was just a question I was curious about how you run it. Yeah.
So we all need to be aware of, and this is something that I kind of put to the back of my mind, maybe for a scarcity factor, but we need to be aware, not just acknowledge, but also respect that we are on rented land. It doesn't matter how big your brand. I've seen massive brands being taken down from Amazon. Don't care how big or how much you've got on terms of views on Facebook or followers on Instagram. You're on rented land. That can be shut down in an instant, today, tomorrow, next week, 2021. So what I would recommend is, this is something that I do with my personal brand a lot, is obviously build your own authority base, your platform, your hub. That's your website. Add content to that, provide value, give out information, details, give the people of your audience, your target market, what they want to hear, what they want to see, and the products that they will go to buy in months or years to come. So it's those products in preparation for your own building of your platform, which is your website, and making sure that that's running smoothly, exactly the same as every other. Because this is, you do not want, because 3 or 4 of these platforms can get shut down overnight. But if you're left with your website and then you've got credibility, exposure, and traffic running through that, you're less stressed, you're less worried, and at least you've got then ground to build up from, as opposed to having nothing and then worrying and then potentially not continuing. And if you really, and this might be a good tip or trick for somebody else who runs a personal-based business for themselves or a product-based business for their company, is write a really good submission post, also known as a guest article or guest post, for the product that you've got. So what you'd want to do is write an informative and highly valuable blog, if you will, about your product that provides a mass amount of value and information to others within your demographic. And what you can do then is, similar websites who might sell the product, or similar blogs who might talk about your products, will put that on their blog. And because they've got momentum, they've already got this influx of massive, consistent traffic, you will gain from their audience, which will have a backlash, a backlink to your website or your Amazon page, which will explode potentially your traffic overnight. So using a guest article submission tactic is really, really powerful. And it's something that I've done, the views on my blog every day. It's something that I will continue to do, because you just leverage someone else's work, their audience. And if you can provide enough value, there's other posts, there's other websites who will want you to do that for them as well.
Yeah. So guest blogging, and like you're saying, that I think it was one of my mentors or someone who I've learned from, Alison McKenzie, taught me that's like they're called super blogs, and it's like a really well written blog post in so much detail, like pages and pages of content to like back up everything you're saying, and a long story behind it. And that's the terminology, I think, for that is a super blog or super blog post, and they can go viral. I've seen you've probably heard of Will Mitchell in the Amazon FBA space on Startup Bros. They have a few good examples of super blogs. They just like really go all in one topic and really be the best blog on that topic out there on the internet. Is a great way to do it. There was a question here from Dylan. Top books or courses for copywriting, one suggestion I've got is anything by David Ogilvy, and there's a book. What's it called? Anything from you, Chris?
Well, if I'm honest,
David Ogilvy on advertising. That's what it's called.
I do all of my own copy. I haven't really researched too much into like tactics and strategies. I've just followed what I've done from product one, from status one, from post one, and I've just practiced over and over religiously, day in and day out on this stuff. So I haven't, in all honesty, I don't have too many resources for that, Dylan. My apologies. But yeah, if you want to do that yourself, I would say the best practices is to write every single day and obviously research and then apply the action of what you've learned.
Yep. And use HTML in your description on your Amazon listing as well. You can add some HTML to add like italics, bold, and bullet points and things, and it just spaces out the description, because otherwise it's just a big long boring block of text. So you're best to kind of gap it out and add some featured advantages and benefits and different things like that.
More so for people that are wondering about sales copy, and maybe this is a good example for some. Since it's coming up to Christmas now, we're in that festive season, jolly, merry, all of that good stuff. There's lights, there's candles, there's presents, there's family, there's love, there's joy. Is what I'm trying to create by saying that is the picture of your family, your dog, mulled wine, and some nice olives and bread around the living room, a logged fire. You've got your Christmas tree there, all lit up with really nice looking shiny baubles. If you're selling those baubles that are going on the Christmas tree, don't talk about how shiny they are or the material that they have. Don't talk about the glimmer of red that they portray. Talk about the environment of the dog running around the living room, you all around the log fire, having a laugh, drinking mulled wine, watching Christmas films. It's the part element of the main environment that you want to focus on when writing about a specific sector.
That's spot on. Yeah, it's talking about like bringing out the emotion, and like you're saying, sell the dream. As Ryan on the podcast before, he talked about B&Q don't sell paint; they sell a beautiful home, and that's a good way to put it as well. As you sell a beautiful home, you're selling the dream. You're not selling boring white paint.
I like it.
Yeah. Another book on copywriting as well, and like what Chris was saying about images, they're like lifestyle images, so like real photos of like the family around the Christmas tree, using the product. That helps a lot. And another book about copywriting that came to my head is Words That Sell. That's a really good one, and gives you some interesting ways to get attention. That's about all the questions we've got coming through there just now. I do have a list of questions here. I just try to pick which one to go, because we're running up to about an hour now. So I usually try and kind of cut it off around now, just because people have a life outside watching podcasts and listening to live videos as well. So I have to be respectable about that. So what I'll do is I do this at the end sometimes when I'm running out of time, and I've got a few more interesting questions. So what to do is like I'll bash out questions, you bash out the answers. Okay.
Okay, that'll be fun. Okay.
Like a game show. What's your key lesson from any failure?
Life is always going to chuck you curveballs. It's how you receive those curveballs that matter. You either dodge them and take a left step. You either catch them and then you stay in the same place and then you get stuck. Or you keep moving forward despite how many more to come. So go through the resistance of life, and you'll come out of there's always light at the end of a tunnel. So keep it moving forward despite how difficult or challenging the situations may be.
Great answer. And Dylan has got a life. He's actually cooking breakfast while watching. You have 7 accounts. How do you set up extra accounts? That might be a longer answer.
That's Sure. So I officially don't have an Amazon account under my name, Chris Jones. I leverage business
Okay.
partners for their names, their accounts. They use my
Yep.
knowledge. They invest the financials, and that's how I'm able to set up 7 accounts. Officially, I don't have
Yep.
an account. They have an account, and I leverage that presence.
Okay. That's so you're like a consultant or a service for other accounts. Okay. Um, long-term storage fees, how to avoid it.
Sell more product.
Sell, get advertising. And how do you negotiate with the suppliers in China on Alibaba, for example, to lower the minimum volume? Because that's something I just struggled with, is a minimum volume of ordering products. I was always given, like, we had to order 2,000 of the products. We couldn't get any lower than that, because we're trying to get as low. And for people to buy into this new business, they have to get a low volume of products just to test it out. And I found that part hard. So how do you negotiate to get a low volume?
So I would get them right away on either WeChat, the app, or WhatsApp. And I would speak to them religiously, hours in the morning when they wake up, or in the afternoon. I usually was waking up 5 a.m. UK time in order to speak to them for 2 hours. Show commitment. That's the biggest thing. Show commitment and will to continue over the long term. Don't be someone that just goes, hey, we need this. Call them by their first name. Ask them about their company. Ask them questions, and one will receive answers. If you can do that and don't expect anything for everything you're trying to say to them, and you show that you're a person and you're not just looking for a one-off play, then those FQs will reduce. But you've got to stay consistent.
Yep. Okay. That's a really good answer. Just WeChat as well, like, so we can just download WeChat on an app and get in contact with them that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So WeChat.
How do you get, off the back of that? How do you get their WeChat contact details?
So their WeChat, their email, their contact for WhatsApp is on the bottom of their Alibaba sales page. So scroll all the way down, you'll see their contact information. You'll also see their warehouse address, and then you'll see all of their apps. So whatever their number is, add that on your phone, and then open with their name and say,
okay. Great answer. Yeah, that's really helpful, actually, because I end up getting in touch with, or my suppliers contacted me through WhatsApp. So that made me open my eyes up to actually we can just give these people a call through WhatsApp or WeChat. So that's a really good tip, actually. Just treat them like a human being, not someone on the other side of the world through this Alibaba front. That's a really good takeaway for me. And what's the future of FBA to you? Like, what do you see Amazon, especially selling on Amazon and FBA?
I see it as more of a long-term play. I mean, with my business partners and I, and with everything that I do in life now, not talking about the last years, Chris, I'm more so now about sacrificing the short-term profits in much longer vision for the long-term play. So sacrificing the short-term gratification for the long-term investment is going to be key for your business standpoint. Yes, you might have to live like a pauper for the next few years, but on that 3rd, 4th, or 5th year, when you build a business up to such a level where you have the opportunity to sell it, which I like to call the big exit or the out, that's where some company will buy you for 7, possibly 8 figures plus if you do things right. So anyway, where I see it going with Amazon is, and this comes back to producing excellence, not just quality, not just being motivated, but producing excellence in your brand, your products, every little thing you're creating. Because the way that I see it is, Amazon they bought out Whole Foods, right? They bought out Whole Foods last year, I believe. So I think if you continually to create a great brand, Amazon will naturally put your products in physical stores, being Whole Foods and whatever other company they're about to acquire ongoing. So they will take some of the bestseller products on Amazon's marketplace, and they will ring up the local Whole Foods, and they'll say, hey, can you put Chris's L-carnitine on the stores of this Whole Foods and that Whole Foods and 12 others around where the places are. So there's going to be opportunities open up in what I think for the physical viewing of your products too, if you do everything right as of now.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good advice. It's just treating the business as we were discussing before, like a real excellent business. Look at the big brands out there. For example, Kellogg's or Heinz, and just see what is happening already at an excellent standard, and really realize that that's what you have to go to. It's not a fad. It's not a business opportunity that you can just jump on the bandwagon, because a lot of people did that a few years ago and they fell off the bandwagon because it's not the type of business it is. It's not just a wee opportunity. You can make money online with eBay and Amazon just that way and add an extra £1,000 to your income. It is that you can do that, but it's not the probably not the easiest way to do that. If you want to do it for real, like what Chris is doing, then it's just treating it like a real brand and aiming for excellence, like he says. I have some more questions, but I can ask you them later. There was one last thing for me, an experience I had. Have you heard of FBA Forward in California? They closed down.
Oh, really?
And yeah,
I didn't know that.
they switched hands to another company. But for like I sell in America and Amazon USA as well. So how do you advise stocking in Amazon itself, or have you tried other fulfillment centers to work it that way, or merchant as well?
I've only purely done FBA. I haven't done FBM. I haven't done any external storage or fulfillment. I've only done FBA just because I'm going for in a way, I'm going for the easiest option. And I'll say on like a personal note that I'm the most dedicated, lazy person that you'll probably ever meet. So I like to do things as easy as I possibly can without the biggest strain to get the biggest and most satisfying of results. So FBA just naturally seemed to fit that rhythm of what I was going for.
Yeah, it's clever. It's been using what you can streamline rather than having some extra problems you can add to yourself. So yeah, I've learned from my experience that it's easier, even with like long-term storage fees. You have to just get negotiations done right at the beginning, and you avoid them. You have to just sell more. You have to have a good product. You have to use Amazon FBA because it's just so well set up and they're so fast at sending products out to customers. To summarize this whole interview, Chris, give me your sentence.
Oh, pressure's on. Pressure's on. I would say that let's take this as a general overview of one's life. And I would say that whatever you want to do in life, whether that be your passion, writing, your hobby of playing football, everyone wants to bring in their passion to make their income present so they can live in the way they want. So for those people who have not yet turned their passion into, let's say, a paycheck, as cheesy as that sounds, start to work on it a few hours a day and allow it to blossom over time into something that you once might not have thought would ever happen. Whether it's researching Amazon today, whether it's starting to write a book tomorrow, whether it's started to go for a hike, a run, or a swim to practice some sort of something involved in what you enjoy doing. Start to do that a little more throughout the day. Turn off your phone, become more present in the moment, and enjoy every single hour for what we've been gifted with. And it was a great quote that I'll finish off by saying, and it's to do with silence and meditation, spirituality, and kind of mindfulness. And it's, we all get so distracted and clogged up in the social media world and on our phones. And I've just written a blog about this. It's called Going 24 Hours Without a Phone. And, just by being silent, and I want to get this quote right, but it says, silence is the element for where great ideas fashion themselves. And that really hit home for me, because whatever ideas you have in life, there is only a certain amount of time that you can maintain a flow state. And a flow state is working on something that you don't know you're working on, and after it's produced, wondering where the time went. So start to be present, turn the phone off, turn the device, go away from the noise, step away from all the loudness in life, and start to work on you, start to work on the things you enjoy, and let them blossom into something beautiful. And I think that's what more people need to understand and realize, that there is more to life than 9 to 5, coming home, doing your standard bog routine and being miserable at the end of every day. Start to implement certain time structures for what you enjoy doing, and just watch as time goes on how that becomes more of a reality into what you want.
Yeah, great advice. Yeah, thank you, Chris.
No
I'm
worries.
sure everyone's watched here has been inspired, and it's been a pleasure to watch you as a person grow and just kind of following each other's journey. So I hope we continue to do that, and we can do this again in the future, and just let's stay in touch.
Thank you. Cheers, Ben. Thank you, everybody. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Chris.
Cheers.
Catch you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.